to a future, to unity, prosperity, and global recognition. Be part of history. The National Creole Language Consultation, October 16th at the University of the West Indies Global Campus. From 10 a.m. will be carried live on DBS Radio and on all DBS Radio social media platforms. DBS Radio, partners of this all-important Creole movement.
Fair and balanced, unbiased and clear, concise and accurate. This is the DBS Evening News. Here now is your presenter with the headlines.
In the headlines, the voter confirmation process in Dominica is set to begin on Wednesday, October 15th. In the news from the region, a new president of Barbados elected. Internationally, U.S. President Donald Trump says trade talks are complicated, but Canada will be very happy with the eventual deals. The details of these stories and more coming up next.
It's in the feeling in our we talk. It's in the meaning in our spark. It is the thing that sets us apart. Who we are. Cause the rhythm of life is pumping. Together going strong. No matter what we keep things flowing. People we will go all in. Our hands up in the sky. Celebrating. Come let your rhythm flow. DBS News.
And welcome back. A special good evening to our listeners of Acoustic Worship Radio. First off, the voter confirmation process in Dominica is set to begin on Wednesday, October 15th at 47 centers around Dominica. Chairman of the Electoral Commission, Duncan Stowe, made the announcement during a press conference at the office of the Electoral Commission this afternoon.
For many years, electoral reform and modernization have been central to national dialogue in Dominica. It has been a process marked by reflection, consultation, and commitment, all driven by a shared goal to strengthen our democracy and ensure that every vote truly counts. Our mission has been clear: to modernize the electoral process, making it transparent, inclusive, efficient, and credible. We have sought to enhance transparency, build trust, embrace responsible use of technology, and ensure that the system works fairly for every Dominican. The electoral reform legislation was passed earlier this year by the Dominica Parliament. Since the law's passage, the Electoral Commission has been working diligently to operationalize the reforms, training personnel, strengthening systems, and preparing for full implementation. It has not been without challenges, but progress has been steady and determined. Today, we announce that we are ready to begin the confirmation process from October 15th, 2025.
Chairman of the Electoral Commission, Duncan Stowe. The voter confirmation process is from October 15th, 2025 and can proceed for the next 15 months. Anthea Joseph is the Chief Elections Officer.
Confirmation will be undertaken in every confirmation center in every constituency in Dominica. Some constituencies will have more than one confirmation center. Confirmation will not take place overseas, only in Dominica. Who will be the electoral office staff at the confirmation center? Enrollment officers appointed by the chief registering officer and supervised by her will staff the confirmation centers in every constituency. Enrollment officers must take an oath before undertaking their duties. Who can apply for confirmation? Only a person whose name is on the list of May 2025 can apply to be confirmed. So therefore, if your name is not on the voters list of May 2025, then you are not entitled to be confirmed. Where can a person apply to be confirmed? A person can only apply at a confirmation center in the constituency which he is registered to vote as of May 2025. Must a person applying to confirm bring anyone with him? Certainly, yes. An applicant must bring a person registered to vote in the same polling district as a witness.
The Chief Elections Officer says voters who present themselves at the confirmation center must have the appropriate documentation.
Where the applicant only has a copy of the required document, then a certified copy must be submitted, certified by a Justice of Peace, a commissioner for oath. What happens when a person presents himself for confirmation? Check to see if his name is on the voters list for the constituency as of May 2025. If his name was not on the list, he cannot proceed. Second step, ensure that he has with him an elector registered in the same polling district as the applicant to be his witness. If not, he must be required to get one. Third step, check to ensure he has all required documents. If any is missing, he should be told to get them. Fourth step, if the applicant satisfies all the steps, he must complete and sign the application for confirmation, which is Form 31, in the presence of the enrollment officer and a voter registered in the same polling district as the applicant. Where possible, the applicant must fill in the form himself. However, the enrollment officer can assist the applicant to fill the form to ensure that it is done correctly, or in a case where the applicant cannot write or have difficulty writing, then the enrollment officer can assist in that case.
Chief Election Officer Anthea Joseph. Confirmation centers in Roseau Central are at the Electoral Office and the House of Anne-Marie Clark on Bath Road. Centers in Roseau North are at the Red Cross Headquarters and Foncalais Improvement Center. Confirmation centers for Roseau South are at the Newtown Innovation Hub, Lubia Village Council, and Roseau Primary School at Bath Estate. Confirmation centers for the Roseau Valley are at Trafalgar Innovation Hub, Cochrane Primary and Loda Emergency Center. Location of other centers are available on the website of the Electoral Commission. Still in the national focus, St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, is set to deliver the keynote address at the Rosie Douglas Memorial Lecture in Dominica on Thursday, October 9th. The lecture, organized by the Dominica Labour Party, takes place at the State House Conference Center at 6:30 in the evening.
The Prime Minister of St. Vincent, who was very, very close with Rosie, his times in North America, and a long political relationship. Also, he will arrive in the morning on the 9th. He will take part in a private ceremony laying a wreath at the gravesite of Sister Patricia Douglas, who was a very instrumental person in education development in St. Vincent, Dominican, my father's, Rosie Douglas' sister, Mike Douglas' sister. Mike Douglas is also laid to rest in Hampstead gravesite, so is right beside his brother, Rosie Douglas. Ralph will lay a wreath at the gravesite of Mike Douglas and Rosie Douglas. Then he will be presented there with some of the Douglas family members. We are inviting everyone, 6:30 p.m. at the State House on the 9th, which is Thursday, to join us. There will be several solidarity messages. Some we might receive via Zoom, and others recorded video messages. Then we will receive an address from our Honorable Prime Minister. And then the main event, which is the memorial lecture by Honorable Comrade Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. So we're inviting everyone to come. There's no need for a physical invitation. Please join us.
Son of the late Rosie Douglas, Tiani Behansen. Deputy Comptroller at the Inland Revenue Division, Irvin McGlaw, says a VAT exemption on a number of essential items for the next 6 months will not negatively impact retailers. The decision was taken by the government of Dominica and came into effect October 1st and will end on March 31st, 2026.
Now, persons will talk about the old stock, what effect it's going to have on the retailer, the person who's selling. It's not going to have any effect on them. Their profit margin is going to be the same because at the end of the day, they would have marked up all the goods before the VAT. So the VAT is always to the final consumer. So the merchant is not going to feel anything. What will happen, we have what we call, and it's not just on the domestic market, it's also on importation. So even if you're not a regular guy going to the supermarket, but if you order your goods from overseas, you will feel that effect, immediate effect. There's no VAT at customs on those products. Also, apart from no VAT on those products at customs, there's also element of import duty, which is waived. So you have in the merchants and the basic consumer will feel that effect on importation. On the domestic side, initially, the VAT is just exempted on the old goods, the old stock. Now, the merchants will not have old stocks for 6 months. They will be importing. So when they import now, when they come to customs, basically it will be a finance benefit for them where they will not pay the import duty and they will not pay the VAT on those products. So eventually, the consumers will still see a further reduction after the old stock has gone off the shelf.
Deputy Comptroller at the Inland Revenue Division, Irvin McLaw. Assistant Comptroller at the Inland Revenue, Jeffrey Joseph, says the department is limited in how it can police if these measures are being implemented.
In terms of compliance, this is part of the initial thrust of, if you want to call it quote-unquote policing, is actually educating. So essentially what we're doing is allowing the public to be the eyes and ears on the ground. You know, just to clarify, the only, I would want to call it policing that we can do is to ensure that the merchants or the people who sell the product do not apply VAT on the product. We don't have any jurisdiction over the markup rate that the people would apply on the selling price. So if the government puts in a measure for the benefit of all, the expectation is that, you know, the calculation of these products would remain constant except for the application of VAT, let's say, for instance, right? And the merchants decide that, okay, they're realizing the price is going to drop, that now they want to put a little more on their markup for them to get a little more. It's rather unfortunate that they would choose that moment where, you know, the common man would be able to get that benefit to try to also gain as well. But that is really not our jurisdiction to actually, quote unquote, police. The most that we can do is to ensure that when they put these products out for sale, that VAT is not applied on these products.
And that was Assistant Comptroller at the Inland Revenue, Jeffrey Joseph. Well, that's Geoffrey Joseph. Eli Burton of Dominica has been convicted and fined for the offences of importation of a controlled drug and possession of a controlled drug or cannabis with intent to supply. The offences were committed on August 25, 2025 at the Deep Water Port at Bird Rock, Basseterre, St. Kitts. Mr. Burton pleaded guilty to the offences and was fined $5,000 on each count. Both amounts were payable forthwith. In default, he will serve 12 months imprisonment. Mr. Burton also appeared for 2 additional matters with the St. Kitts Customs and Excise Department regarding importation of goods, cannabis, packed into deceive a customs officer. He was convicted and cautioned for both offences. Mr. Burton's sentences were handed down by Her Honour Magistrate Yasmin Clark at the Basseterre Magistrates Court on October 6, 2025. Still in the national focus, social worker at the Acute Psychiatric Unit, Dave Loda, says the impact of disasters on a person's mental health cannot be underestimated. His remarks came as Dominica will join the observance of World Mental Health Day on Friday, October 10th. This year's theme is Access to Service, Mental Health in Catastrophes and Emergencies.
The theme for this year's Mental Health Day, this topic is very important and relevant to us in Dominica as we have grown to be too accustomed to natural disasters and the spike in the violence and the just road accidents that we see happening, creating emergencies, trauma, catastrophe in our setting. And so we have to now think of the impact these events are having on our people and to what extent we can provide information to alert persons that these have negative impact on our children, on our adolescents, and across the population, and how they can access service when needed. A lot of times we speak about the access of the service. It may be available, but is it accessible? Do people even recognize the service is there and make use of it? So this is the type of information that we want to be discussing throughout the week so that Dominican, we in this population can be better prepared to deal with the impact of catastrophes and emergencies on our mental health.
Meanwhile, a week of activities have been planned in Dominica to observe the World Mental Health Day.
Wednesday, we have the Talk and Tea, where we will have students, secondary schools, and the college, all in the Roseau area, at a roundtable discussion. And that would allow the students to discuss relevant issues of mental health with the healthcare providers here. And we're hoping that the recording of that roundtable discussion can be used as an educational tool at schools and the public at large. On Thursday, we're having a big day on the compound of the psychiatric unit. That's Beautification Day, where staff, patients, and we're collaborating with departments like the forestry department, the prison, solid waste, and even private citizens. They will all collaborate with us in doing this beautification project. A small garden will be developed. Some benches will be placed under some almond trees for recreation, relaxation purposes at the unit. On Friday, our usual sports day, thanks to the sports division, we'll be assisting in that regard. And we intend to end the week of activities with a staff outing. However, for some reason, we are unable to have it this Saturday coming, the 11th, and so we'll have it the 18th.
And that was a social worker at the acute psychiatric unit, Dave Loda, taking us to the end of this evening's National Focus. Up next is news from the region and international.
It's in the feeling and how we talk. It's in the meaning and our spark. It is the thing that sets us apart. Who we are. Cause the rhythm of life keeps pumping. Together going strong. No matter what we keep things flowing. Before we will go all in. Our hands up in the sky. Celebrate and come let your rhythm flow.
DBS News.
And welcome back. Now, news from the region. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Davidson Bostic has been officially elected as the next president of Barbados. His election was confirmed this morning during a joint sitting of the House of Assembly and the Senate, where there were no objections to the sole nomination jointly endorsed by Prime Minister Mia Motley and Opposition Leader Ralph Thorne. Speaker of the House, Arthur Holder, announced to the joint session that in the absence of any objections, a formal vote was unnecessary and the nomination stood approved. In his remarks, Opposition Leader Thorne emphasized the unity between Bostic's selection, describing him as a steady, respected Barbadian, while Prime Minister Motley hailed him as the right person for this time, noting that he embodies all the qualities required for the office. Internationally, U.S. President Donald Trump says that trade negotiations are complicated, but Canada will be very happy with any deal in the future. Speaking alongside Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney during a cordial meeting at the White House, Trump said that car companies hurt the U.S. by setting up operations across the border, placing the two neighbors in competition. Carney said he was confident they would get the right deal from the U.S. and Canada's primary economic partner. Canada's main opposition figure, Conservative opposition leader Pierre Poilievre, had said anything short of a deal would mean the visit was a failure. This brings us to the end of this evening's news. Up next is sports.
Covering the nation and beyond, DBS Sports Report.
At Flow, loyalty pays back. That's why we're rewarding our customers with $400 in vouchers. That's like 5 months of your mobile bill back in your pocket. Simply add mobile to your current home internet plan and claim your $400 in rewards today. Loyalty pays back. That's how we keep your rhythm flowing.
And welcome to your DBS Evening Sports for today, 7th October 2025. First off, West Indies captain Roston Chase is back in his place to bounce back in the second test against India. Chase says that the West Indies have been in these sort of positions before and have showed resilience. The West Indies are trailing 1-0 in the two-match series. The second test gets underway on Friday.
Yeah, but as the captain, it's my job to motivate the team. Despite whatever position we may be in or what happened in the last game, is my job and the coach's job to motivate those players and give them the best chance or give them that confidence that we still believe in them despite whatever may happen, because it's still a team. At the end of the day, I can't do it by myself. I can't depend on the coach. The coach doesn't play cricket, so it's still me and those guys going out there. So I would die trying to motivate those guys to give me a good performance. Yeah, well, on the table, obviously, they're ranked higher than us, so they're supposed to be a stronger team. But yes, I would say that I think we could have done better. I don't think that the wicket was a wicket that we should be bowled out twice under 200, 250. I think it's a pitch that we could have at least gotten 300 runs in the first innings. I thought it was a very good batting wicket, and the Indians showed us that.
West Indies captain Roston Chase. Cricket West Indies Director of Cricket, Miles Bascom, says the West Indies under-19 team will be engaged in a series against England and possibly the USA as they continue with preparations for the 2026 World Cup, which will be held in January. He says whilst Cricket West Indies will cut back on a number of programs due to financial constraints, the under-19 team will not be impacted.
Our West Indies under-19 team that is preparing for the World Cup in January 2026. We have ensured that we kept the plans for their preparation. They would have completed an under-19 international series against Sri Lanka, winning that series, and we have another series planned against England and potentially the USA in November. So they will have another at least 7 international youth ODI matches in that series, which should put them in a very good position heading into a World Cup in January.
Bascom says the women's regional tournament will see some changes, but the West Indies women's team will be engaged in a camp in November.
In the women's tournament, we are likely to revert to merging the T20 and ODI formats back into a singular tournament that is likely to be held ahead of the Sri Lanka series in February. We are confident, however, that all the plans that we have in place, we are planning to put a shift onto skill development. So, for example, our senior women players will be in camp for 8 weeks from November pretty much to Christmas, working on developing their skills. Then they are expected to train with their respective territorial teams heading into the regional tournament in January, and then move into international competition in that first series of the year against Sri Lanka.
Cricket West Indies Director of Cricket, Miles Bascom. Cricket West Indies CEO Chris Daring is hoping the star power from Brian Lara, Sir Vivian Richards and Sir Richie Richardson will help the West Indies secure some lucrative TV right deals. The trio of West Indian legends will speak to corporate sponsors and broadcasters on behalf of CWI in India. Daring says CWI intends to put forward a case to get the major stakeholders more involved in West Indies cricket.
For Mission India, where we're going to be meeting with various broadcasters, sponsors, all of corporate India, in an effort to remind them that West Indies cricket is simply not a commercial entity for them to buy broadcast rights, but it is a legacy that we've given to the world, that the world almost owes us to reinvest in us. And that is the purpose of taking Brian, Sir Viv and Sir Richie You can't treat us like everybody else as a commercial venture. Myself and the commercial director sitting in front of the broadcaster, it's strictly a commercial discussion. I'd like to see a broadcaster who has long admired Sir Viv Richards tell us that he's going to treat us like any other cricket organization trying to sell their television rights.
Cricket West Indies CEO Chris Derring. Meantime, Brian Lara says the struggling West Indies would find a way to get their act together in Test cricket if they truly had cricket at heart. Lara was responding to comments by West Indies captain Roston Chase on the weekend, where Chase pointed out financial issues within West Indies cricket and poor facilities. Lara says notwithstanding the regional team's long-standing issues, the players must show more passion in order to compete better. Lara's message to Roston Chase and the other players is that if they really wanted to play for West Indies, they would find a way. Into some football action, head coach of the senior men's national football team, Ellington Sabin, says the team will have to make the most of the short window for preparation as they get set to participate in the CONCACAF series in St. Kitts in November. Dominica has been grouped with French St. Martin, Dutch St. Martin, Belize and St. Kitts in the inaugural tournament. The over 30-man training squad held their first session last night at the DFA Technical Center. Coach Sabin says he was impressed with what he had witnessed last night.
Tonight the guys they were decent. I mean, the energy was there. Yeah, tonight was more or less about getting the players to fill out the field. Some of them haven't played in a while. Some of them have games tomorrow and on the weekends. It's just about them loosening up. Yeah, but all these guys we know Premier Division has stopped for quite some time now.
All right, it's going to be, a real short window to prepare the guys. How much of a challenge do you think that's going to be?
Well, I mean, it's really a short window, but that is not an excuse. Once you take a job as a coach, you cannot use it as an excuse. If I didn't think that it was doable, then I would not have taken the job. I think the players' fitness, not as far off as I thought it would be, seeing that the Premier League has stopped for a while. They seem to be pretty fit. We played a 45-minute scrimmage there in high intensity, and before that we had some activities that you could see that the energy never really dropped. So I think at present they should be somewhere about 60% fit, so that says a lot going into the games next month.
A lot of newcomers on debut tonight, Coach. How impressed were you with them?
Well, the newcomers, I saw them in the league and I thought they deserved a showing. I mean, there are others. It's just those are really the standout ones, and I think that they can make a name for themselves and give a good claim on the senior men's national team and challenge some of the players that are there. So then hence the reason we invited them to the training session.
All right, let's look ahead to the tournament in St. Kitts in November. We have the two St. Martin teams, Belize, St. Kitts. These are the teams in the group. Mentally, how are you going to be preparing the guys for this sort of challenge?
Well, I mean, everybody's saying it's 2 easy games, it's 2 easy victories. There's no such thing in football. The players have to prepare themselves mentally as well as physically for the games because, the St. Martin and St. Kitts just had 2 friendlies over the weekend, so they get in match ready for the competition. We ourselves don't have any friendlies planned, and that is why I don't think that'll be in the cards because of the short time frame there is to prepare. But we'll go and play the game 1 game at a time and 3 points at a time. As always, we'll go and fight and represent the country to the best of our ability.
And that was head coach of the senior men's national football team, Ellington Sabin. The DFA's Premier League President's Cup will officially get underway on Wednesday. The Belfast Estate Mahou Soca Strikers, who finished second in last year's Premier League, will take on Promex Hallam United in the first match of the knockout tournament Wednesday night. Hallam finished a disappointing 6th place in the last Premier League campaign. The two teams will meet at 7 p.m. at the DFA Technical Center. Meantime, tonight, St. Joseph FC and Wayne George Academy will go in search of that final spot in the DFA Division 1 quarterfinals. The two teams will meet in the final round of the 16 match tonight at 7 p.m. at the DFA Technical Center. So far, 7 teams have booked their spot in the quarterfinals. The teams advancing to the quarterfinals so far are RC Doctors, Bath Estate FC, Calabishi FC, Northside FC, the Do It Center Mighty Avengers, Fonkole FC and South City FC. Well, this brings us to the end of this evening's News and Sports. Special thanks to the DBS News and Sports team and Link personnel, DJ Halo Boy.
At Flow, loyalty pays back. That's why we're rewarding our customers with $400 in vouchers. That's like 5 months of your mobile bill back in your pocket. Simply add mobile to your current home internet plan and claim your $400 in rewards today. Loyalty pays back. That's how we keep your rhythm flowing.
DBS Radio gives you top quality service over any other for live streaming of funerals. Call us today at 448-3282.
Good evening and welcome to the evening edition of the DBS Radio Community Bulletin Board. It's the 7th day of October 2025. We begin with this evening's edition of the DBS Radio Deaf announcements on the DBS Radio Community Bulletin Board. We announce the death of Lorna Alfred Prosper, age 63, of Tetmon, Grand Bay. She died on Wednesday, the 1st of October 2025 at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital. The funeral arrangements for the late Lorna Alfred Prosper of Tetmon, Grand Bay will be given in a subsequent announcement. We announce the death of Hugh Joseph Oscar, age 82, of Canefield. He died on Sunday, the 5th of October 2025 at his residence. The funeral arrangements for the late Hugh Joseph Oscar of Canefield will be given in a subsequent announcement. The management and staff of your nation station DBS Radio extends deepest condolences to all bereaved. Welcome to the general announcements on the DBS Radio Community Bulletin Board. Domlec wishes to inform its customers at Egliston Playing Field, Dowasco Water Tank, Girardel, Pichelin, Maranatha Square, and Center in Grand Bay that their electricity supply will be interrupted on Friday, the 10th of October 2025 between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. These interruptions are necessary to allow Domlec to conduct vegetation management on its distribution lines between Egliston and Girardel and to undertake high voltage maintenance between Pichelin and Grand Bay. Additional information is available on their website www.domlec.dm under scheduled outages. Domlec appreciates your understanding in this matter and regrets any inconvenience caused. Please be advised that the branches, sub-offices and offices of the National Cooperative Credit Union Limited, NCCU Limited, will be closed at the following times on Wednesday, the 8th of October, that's tomorrow, to facilitate a general staff meeting. Viecas, Castlebruce, Laplin and St. David's, 12:30 p.m. Head office, Roseau, at St. Paul's and La Salette, 1 p.m. They apologize for any inconvenience caused. We also have this on the DBS Radio Community Bulletin Board.
Are you ready to get imbued with a sense of tradition, culture, and talents? Well, it's the Madame Wapduyet pageant, and the 4 lovely women will be vying for the 2025 title. Monsieur Viniwet Talo, Viniwet Dam, F. Viniwet Gum, with Virginia Mint representing Loubier and Waterhouse, Cynthia Talbot representing Pichelin, Angelica Gaspar representing Castlebruce, and Evelina Blanc representing Grand Bay and Maho. It promises to be an exciting night at the Old Mill Cultural Center, Wednesday, Wednesday, October 22nd from 8 p.m. Tickets are $50 standing, $60 on covered sitting, and $70 for covered sitting. Tickets available at Bullseye Pharmacy and the All Mill Cultural Center. It's the 2025 Madam Wapget Pageant. This event is sponsored by Mapao Entertainment Center, House of Lorraine, Madam Wapget Canada, and the National Bank of Dominica.
Thank you very much for joining us on this edition of the DBS Radio Community Bulletin Board. The next edition is tomorrow morning from 6:10 a.m. with the morning edition of the DBS Radio Death Announcements. And then we continue at 7:40 with the general announcements. Don't forget to hear your announcements on DBS, the nation station, coming to the sales and marketing team's office Mondays through Fridays between the hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can give us a call, 448-3282, 448-3283. You can send us an email